What is up, Joe? My name is Adam McGinnis with Truth About It. We have a late edition post-game wrap-up we're trying to do with a new little wrinkle. You have hopefully just watched the Washington Wizards take a 1-0 lead in Indianapolis with a 102-96 victory over the number one seeded Indiana Pacers. Huge victory. With me tonight, a man who needs little introduction. Rocks the beard and a stocking cap better than most people I know, who's really excited about Aaron Rodgers, being a big fan of Drew Gooden. Mr. John Townsend, how we doing, my man?
We're good. We're actually we watched the game in Bethesda. You know, we got the stocking cap and beard look to rep Drew Gooden. Obviously a Packers fan. So yeah, good stuff. It was a big win. Hope my sound's coming in well. It's a 20-point game in OKC, so no one's missing anything. They should be tuning into this.
Yeah, I missed the Randy Whitman press conference. Of course, I'm taping it, so I'll go back and look at it. But let's get into the game real quick. Give me, before we got 3 bullet points we're going to go over, and just give me your overall hot sports take of what you saw out there tonight.
I mean, it was a good one. It was, a strong Wizards team. Not much has changed really from the team we saw against the Bulls. They play defense. The young guys, Wall, Beal, I think Beal especially down that stretch. Late third quarter, I think, when he hit that big transition three. These guys can play. And again, Gortat didn't have his best game. He shot 4 for 12, 5 turnovers. I think he was, minus and plus minus, but, he has stretches like those. He also has some moments. They look good. Now, I was sort of surprised to see the Pacers struggle, especially Roy Hibbert, who I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. But, the Wizards look like the better team today. Earlier I said the Wizards would win the series. Told my buddy that they were going to win tonight, and it looks like they came through. The Pacers just don't look ready to play the Wizards right now. Wizards, not the Hawks.
Yeah, it's definitely not the Hawks. And I think that's kind of what the main bullet point I want to get into right now is about. I think that the takeaway with that series with the Hawks and the Pacers, what team is this? Do they get the confidence? Kind of the national narrative. One I agree with. Most of the time I don't agree with the national narrative, the talking points that are out there. But it really is, who is this team for the Pacers? And as much as it is about the Wizards, is this the team that was the number one seed that played so well at the beginning, or is this the team that struggled against the Hawks? I talked to Rashad Mobley last night, and we did a whole thing. And his main point was after we will know in the first 5 minutes, what kind of Pacers team we're getting. Well, the Wizards once again going on an 8-0 run to begin the game, the 6th straight playoff game. They've got off into a lead, into a strong start, which I think has also been very instrumental just in their confidence and everything's playing. They end up going up 16-7 lead, 23-10 lead the Wizards ran out to. And I still think that the Pacers are a mess. They offered little resistance. Stevenson played a lot of one-on-one ball. Roy Hibbert, 0 points, I believe, 0 rebounds, 5 fouls. The Mahimi thing, that didn't really work out for them. David West got some points, and Stevenson got it going just a little bit, but overall, him and Paul George both shot poorly. And here you have Paul George, starting the All-Star game. Heck, they were talking about him being one of the best players of the game at the beginning of the season. And now you have basically Trevor Ariza and Bradley Beal completely outplaying him, if not shutting him down. Your thoughts on the Pacers, whether or not this is indication of things to come here?
Well, I think there's an interesting sort of storyline here that isn't really being talked about. It came out a bit during the Bulls series. The Bulls, Kirk Heinrich, Taj Gibson, a bunch of their sort of core pieces were talking about how it was frustrating to play the Wizards because every game would start the same way. The Wizards would come out, punch him in the mouth, take a sip of water during the timeout, and then come back out and punch him in the mouth again. So I looked at the numbers over at the NBA.com/stats site. Shout out to the people at SAP. It's quality stuff. I wish it worked better on mobile. But over the course of the playoffs, the Wizards have quietly become one of the better, if not the best, first quarter team in the NBA. They're shooting 51.2% in the first quarter. They're scoring 27.3 points per game, which is the most if you don't include the Rockets, who were knocked out. And their plus minus in the first quarter is the best in the NBA. It's 7.7 right now, at least in the playoffs. So I mean, it's tough when you're at home for the Pacers. You have the crowd behind you, and immediately the Wizards do what they have done over the 6 games that they played in the playoffs, and jump out to a big lead. And you start in a hole. You're frustrated. Whatever game plan you had, you try to stick to it. But like Mike Tyson said, it as long as we're keeping with this boxing analogy here. Everyone has a game plan until they get punched in the face. I think that's what he said. So it's been tough. The Wizards have done a really good job of that. I think you have to credit the players. Credit Randy Whitman if you want to. I think he's been good, and they're confident. They're a confident bunch right now. They're tough to beat.
Yeah, let's go over Hibberd's line right now because the national media is gonna be piling on him. But 18 minutes, 0 for 2 from the field. Both I think were long jumpers actually. No rebounds, 1 assist, 2 blocks, 2 turnovers, 5 fouls, -7 team plus minus. I mean, The thing is that I think sometimes Hibberd's offensive contributions I think get maybe overanalyzed a little bit more, and I think maybe he's a convenient scapegoat. But I mean, this is an all-star center, and the fact that he can't even contribute at all, and this is actually a team that they're going to need. This is the kind of team that the Pacers would need to go against. A team that has 2 bigs, that has the Gortat and the Nene. For him to basically be this of a sinkhole down there, especially on offense, but even on defense. I mean, Nene was pretty much doing what he wanted with him. Gortat, granted he missed his usual 8 million bunnies down low and had some fumbling issues, but Gortat had 13 rebounds, had some key rebounds, and played some, had some good blocks and had some really good defense as well. I mean, like I said, going back to the Paul George, I just looked up. They were Paul George and Stevenson were combined 8 for 30, 30 points, 6 turnovers. Bradley Beal and Ariza were combined 15 of 28 for a combined 47 points. And, they're doing things over the – and I think that as long as that matchup happens, I just don't see – and Wall didn't really even have that great a spectacular of a game. I thought he dominated the first quarter without a doubt. And let's get back into that. Just the Wizards the second unit kind of fell apart there in the first half, and then they kind of came back. Ariza had a bunch of threes, but what did you kind of see how this game flowed in the first half, especially?
Yeah, I mean, the first half was good. Like I said, a lot of it, stems from the first quarter. I mean, I think it was 28-28 scoring-wise in the second. So I mean, the first half, they played even in the second quarter. The difference after at that end of the first half, which is that first quarter burst that the Wizards put on him. Hibbert, he looks like he's been space jammed the same way Carlos Boozer was in the last series. The Monstars have his powers. They're blocking shots up in space. It's bad, and you can sort of rip them. You can say, would you rather have Roy Hibbert or Jan Vesely? I think at this point it's sort of a tougher question than you might think. But he's not the only problem. I mean, so often, I think I saw this early in the second half, but a lot of the Pacers' offense just became George Hill trying to run the pick and roll and then kicking it out to either Luis Scola or David West for the mid-range jumper. And honestly, that's exactly what the Wizards want. So far through the playoffs, David West is shooting 36% from 15 to 19 feet. Luis Scola is shooting 35% from 15 to 19 feet. So that's a shot you'll live with. If you're wondering about the Wizards side of this, and you talk about John's sort of poor shooting percentages, he's shooting just 23.3% from that mid-range area. Beal is shooting 28%. So neither of those guys are really knocking down shots. But those are shots they sort of have to take. Wall, he could do a little bit of a better job maybe getting to the hoop, but again, I mean his role in this playoff run is the game manager. Whitman's talked about it. His teammates have talked about it, and he did another pretty good job of that tonight. He had 9 assists, just 1 turnover. Played pretty good D for the most part. So I don't really think you can knock Wall for taking those shots. Sometimes he gets a little bit too trigger happy, but he's been a solid player, even if the field goal percentage isn't really that for him.
No, I think you're right as in the shots, but I think what we've seen throughout these playoffs is that sometimes we didn't. I think it was one of my main criticisms, especially about Beal this year. Sometimes Wall in his other earlier seasons is that they wouldn't find other ways to contribute. They would pout. They come back down the court, be like, they make their shots, and they're out. Have we seen if even when their shots are not going, they're rebounding, they're assisting. I mean, Beal had 7 rebounds tonight, 7 assists, 5 steals. Wall had 9 assists. You know, they both made some key clutch free throws at the end of the game. And that's some things that sometimes gets overlooked, and we just look at the box score and see, you know, these types of things. When you watch it in great defense as well, there's a couple of possessions that I'll get into. But I thought if just what really stands out on the box score is that both teams pretty much shot about 40%, 41%. But the rebounds, the Wizards out-rebounded them 53-37 and had 17 offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
To their 6. So there's 11 more opportunities. Now a lot of those I think were Gortat missing bunnies to himself, or Drew Gooden, who we'll get to, the drizzle.
Master.
Drizzle, you know, getting those ones where you get like 3 rebounds on one play, where you tip in twice and then get the, but I think that was basically, and the Wizards were 10 of 16 from 3. And what we've seen all year, when the Wizards hit their threes, they are just as good as anyone in the NBA to beat. I mean, they're tough. Now, granted, on the back end, sometimes they don't, you know, if they don't hit their threes, then it's, you know, but we've seen, especially in the Bulls series, there were some games they didn't really hit that many threes. They still found ways to win, especially with Nene playing as well as he's had, which I think has been kind of a weird identity change of this team.
Yeah.
But you know, and the Pacers had a bunch of threes. I think the biggest key to me was the defense. Speak a little bit about these rebounds and the defense you saw of this unit. So I think sometimes the Wizards' defense has been overlooked because, granted, the Pacers and the Bulls are 2 of the top defending teams in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean the defense is big. I sort of mentioned it earlier. You know, the ball really isn't moving around for the Pacers. It's not zipping from guy to guy. You know, it's not even so much read and react. It's slow. It's predictable. You know, they're going to live with those West jumpers, even though, you know, Chris Webber kept going on and on about how West is, you know, a great shooter, and, you know, he is career-wise, but, you know, 35% from that spot, they'll give it to him. The offensive boards, I mean, Drew Gooden, like you said, was a maniac. I think the stat we should circle here is the second chance points. The Wizards had like 17 offensive rebounds. Yeah, 17 offensive rebounds, 19 second chance points. The Pacers had just 5 second chance points, so you know that's a 14-point difference right there just on second chance points. You know, and in a 6-point game, you know, I think that's the one spot you need to point to. You know, the rebounds was a big difference there, but the second chance points they got off of those opportunities was big.
Yeah, I think that the defense has been on Harold a little bit all year, but I think there was a kind of a relevant moment where, you know, I'm still not used to Randy Whitman getting interviewed during games, even though this is like the 3rd or 4th game this has happened. Yeah. It's still a weird, bizarre thing for Randy Whitman to talk to a national reporter during a game. I'm still waiting for him to have a curtly Bob Knight-esque type response to a stupid question that he does not like, because, you know, it's silent reporting. Most questions are pretty inane. I can't think of a very uninsightful job, right?
I'll let you know.
So in his tie game, a little bit better today, a little bit better than Marshall's. Still not maybe some like Nordstrom Rack type of situations. You know, still isn't some type of Italian store, or, you know, maybe he needs to go to Georgetown to find a good tie. But, you know, a little bit better. It wasn't like he got it at Kohl's or Marshall. So I was a little bit more impressed for you tonight, Randy.
Hey, whatever works, man. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Coming into this game, he was one of 5 NBA coaches in history, check this out, to win his first 3 playoff games on the road. So now he's got 4. I don't know if that qualifies him to be like top 3 ever, but, you know, he's on a historic run here, as are the Wizards, as, you know, that pop-up, the Cryon after the game. You know, this is the first time the Wizards have won a second-round game since '82. Do they have a date with destiny? I don't know, but, you know, if we want to throw this out there, no 5 seed has ever won an NBA title. Maybe it's premature, but the Wizards are a 5 seed, obviously. So, you know, it's a year of firsts in many ways. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, also I think UConn was a 7 seed that won the tournament. So maybe there's something weird in the basketball air. Yeah. But to finish the women point is that he gets in the huddle, and, you know, sometimes they're stupid. Most of the time they're stupid because I think they edit out anything that's good. But he was like, hey, we're going to win this game on defense. We're going to win this game on defense. It was funny. Then they go on this little offensive run, fueled by Beal, who we'll get into in a moment. But at the end of the game, this is probably going to definitely be the stat. So Paul George has like a breakaway and one where Drew Gooden should have tackled him, and he made a terrible foul, which his defense was atrocious. But we won, so the Wizards won. So I won't nitpick his defense. But then that was at the 7:40 mark, and they basically went 7 straight minutes without a field goal, which is what we've seen, especially in Game 1 and Game 2 when they played the Bulls. They pretty much were tied, and the Wizards' defense locked them down both in regulation in Game 1 and then also in regulation overtime in Game 2, and kind of swung the momentum of the game and got those 2 games. And once again, here you are. Now the Pacers are in a little bit of a hole, but there was a play. So when they went up, and they went from 7:40 mark until Copeland hit a shot with 40 seconds left. Now the Pacers hit 3 threes at the end of the game to maybe make the score a little bit more closer than this game kind of really was. But like I said, getting all those stops, there was about 2.5 minutes where the Wizards had 2 huge stops where the defense rotated George, Ariza, and Beal, and Nene, and it was just a whole cohesive unit that, watching this team for so many years, I mean, I know that we've kind of taken it for granted a little bit, but we're used to the Wizards falling apart on both ends of the court usually, especially when they go into a lull. If we're to have a team where if they go into a lull offensively, they're able to get these key stops to kind of keep them in and maybe just win a game on free throws, which actually they kind of did. There really wasn't a dagger shot. It was just mostly free throws at the end.
Yeah, when Beal hit that free throw, I was watching with my dad, and he was a little bit nervous that the Pacers were going to come back, but no, they just weren't. They didn't have the stuff today. So I think Beal free throw to making maybe 8 points, 9 points. I was pretty much that's the the free throw dagger. But yeah, you have to credit the Wizards again. They're statistically, if you look at the plus minus, the best clutch team in the NBA right now. They're plus 17 in clutch time minutes, and they played 20 of them, which is more than twice the amount of clutch time minutes the Pacers have played. The Pacers have played 9, and they've been good too. They've been plus 13. But the Wizards, even during the Bulls series, were one of the better clutch time squads. The Bulls were horrendous. Net rating terrible, plus minus terrible, and the Wizards were the opposite. And I think that sort of confidence that we're in control of this game. We have the vets. Whatever people are saying in the timeout. I don't think it's just women. I think some of the veteran leaders. In those huddles are really, keeping the young guys focused. They're getting the job done. So, you just sort of have to tip your hat to the Wizards. They've been playing great down the stretch.
Yeah,
it's totally different than regular season in many ways.
Yeah, well. I mean, I think we saw it in flashes in the regular season, but when you don't really have a winning streak past 5 games, but then you don't lose more than 3 in a row. Yeah. And you have one winning streak of 5 games. You never really get on a roll where it's just like, this game, we got it. It's over. They never really. They would have a couple wins, and then they would, blow it or blow something down. So you never really saw this stretch of basketball where you're like, dang, this is a good ass team. It was just mostly like, oh, good team, disappointing, kind of good. They play good teams really well, struggle against the bad ones, which is kind of funny. It's like, so maybe they're just peaking because now all the teams are better, even though I don't know how much better the Bulls were without 2 of their best players, and the Pacers are with the mess. But, I mean, the Pacers still won 50-some games. I mean, you have to give them some credit like that, as much as they've been playing bad for 2 months. But I thought that another one stood out. It's just an overall team win. 6 players in double figures. Contributions from Drew Gooden off the bench. He had 12 points. What do you have? 12 points, 13 rebounds, 7 offensive rebounds. Hit both of his free throws. He basically, and then all the starters were in double figures. Nene 15 points, Ariza 22, 6 for 6 from 3. Gortat 12 points, 15 rebounds. Wall 13 points, 9 assists. Only 1 turnover for Wall, which is great for 40 minutes. And Beal with 25 points, 5 steals, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 1 block, 4 turnovers, 8-18 from the field, and 3 of 5. Just the fact that they're able, Miller didn't really play that well. He had a little bit better stretch in the second half. First half he was atrocious and terrible. Webster, I'd still like to see better things from him.
From him.
Yeah, he's just kind of out there. I don't think his minutes was very good. I mean, I was kind of still interested. I'm glad that Gooden kind of had a little late surge there because I thought there was a lull there in the moment where maybe Booker where Scola and West were getting going and kind of maybe out muscling Gooden down there, especially on the defense. That I thought maybe Booker's energy could help. I was kind of interested. He went.
I think Booker's size against the Pacers hurts him a lot more than it did against the Bulls. He was having issues early. He was picking up some fouls. I had no problem with keeping Gooden in there. His defense wasn't great, and we've mentioned that. But I don't think Booker could have found a way to sort of get his hand up that high. And I mean, Gooden got his hand on literally any ball that hit the rim and was coming off of it. He was right there. So Booker's the fastest player on the team. Freak athlete, but I think it took sort of that Bethesda old man game to. I don't think
North Bethesda.
Yeah, I guess you haven't incorporated him yet, so.
Like I said, they're gonna be doing shots of seaweed, wheatgrass. They're just gonna rock it at the Whole Foods. Which, for those who don't know, he likes to hang out at the Whole Foods in North Bethesda. He knows them all by name, and his different type of yoga that he does. But so I guess to transition to this to conclude, give me who's your MVP in this game?
I think you got to give it to Beal. Yeah, messed it out.
Go to the hat.
Big Panda. Yeah, I think Beal was great, and it's good to see. He was a guy that, it was clear that he had talent. I'll just give a quote here from Marcin Gortat, and this was after Game 4 in D.C. after they beat the Bulls. This is Gortat talking about the young studs, Wall and Beal. He says, these two guys are extremely talented and extremely competitive. I see the difference. They're competing every possession. They got an extra effort. Even if they miss, they're still fighting. Defensively, they're engaged, especially Bradley. He's a different player. And I mean, how many steals did he have today? Like 5, 7?
5.
He had 5 steals. I mean, was playing good D. He was his hands in the passing lane. Whatever Ariza, was smoking, Beal might have, taken a hit or two of that because his defense has been nice. He hit the big shots. Even after he airballed that free throw, he went 0 for 2 from the line. Airballs a free throw. He didn't go back hanging his head. He was sort of just laughing, smiling. Gortat has said he's seen the difference. I think a lot of us have too. He was very much a mid-range shooter. Didn't take as many threes, but he's been so much better at going to the rim and attacking. Getting to the line. He was the Wizards' leading point scorer, which I thought he would be before the game, which now makes it 3 times out of 6 games he's led the Wizards in points. He's been great, and he's 20 years old. So my MVP, we'll give it to Bradley Beal. As good as Trevor Ariza was, I mean, he was lights out. But I'll go Beal.
I'm gonna go Beal actually as well. I thought that one of the keyest moments, aside from we talked about earlier, the 7-minute stretch of them getting all those stops and limiting the Pacers basically to no field goals. But I thought there was a key stretch where Beal, there was a scramble, the ball, he kind of slipped again, which I don't know why everyone's freaking slipping. There's probably at least 10, both teams, but I don't know why everyone's slipping on that.
Beal was slipping too earlier, I think, in the playoffs too.
Paul George was slipping. There's all sorts of slipping. But he slips, and somehow he gets the ball in the corner. Shot clock's going down. He fumbles the ball. I mean, he barely has it, and just rocks a corner 3. Now, the score is 82-7-6 right now. Yeah. And then after that, they didn't score. And then there was a 3, I think right before that, where Wall kind of came out in transition. And Wall and Ariza, I mean, they've done really good. Obviously, Wall does that cross-court pass to them in the corners. He's perfected that blind pass, which is one of the – it's like sometimes it still surprises me, even though I've seen it a million times. But there's another one is the trailing one, which is also, it's the secondary break type of thing, where Wall goes down the speed, kicks it back in a little, kicks it back in neutral a little bit, and bam, hits the trailer. And it's beautiful. Now, Ariza's perfected that, super well. We'll get into Ariza right now momentarily, but is that right before that, Beal had did the same thing. And then where he came down and boom, no hesitation. We've seen in the past, one of my biggest pet peeves is with shooters when they're not ready to shoot. and it's like you make a pass, especially in the NBA, man. There's like a sliver sometimes for an opportunity offensively, especially against elite defensive teams in a 24-second clock, and almost a possession sometimes gets ruined early in the shot clock by a shooter just not being ready. And the fact that we've seen all year that these shooters are ready when and Wall's been able to deliver them into their spots, and he knows where they're at. And it's a pretty thing to see. And I think that touching on your point is one of the criticisms that we've had of Bradley. Sometimes he wasn't getting the free throw line enough. 9 trips tonight. I think one was a tech, but eight free throws.
He missed, but yeah.
And then he missed the tech, and he actually airballed the free throw, which was really bizarre. But he drove to the hole. He had one that was awesome in the first half, and he had another couple sweet drives and then he had a really nice floater, which I was just like, oh my gosh, that's like next level stuff. He starts that's like Dwayne Wade floating stuff that everyone's kind of been waiting for, and then to have that big panda pure stroke, let's go back to Trevor Ariza. I mean, he went 6 and 6 from threes. Once again, was all over Paul George defending him. He had some big rebounds. He had a couple big deflections and steals. Every time it seemed like the Wizards needed a big bucket and they got a little spurt, I mean, there it is, Trevor Ariza again. He actually, and the thing is, I think he would have had 6, 7 threes, but they actually called one on his foot on the line.
Yeah, right half.
Yeah, which I don't think the TNT did very good of explaining that. Yeah. But just I know we shower Ariza with a lot of love, but I'm just glad that they're finally. That's been one of his pet peeves. I'm going to beat it to death. Is that I thought Ariza's one of the most important players on this team, whether they have a big run, and I know Beal and Wall get all the attention, and now Nene got attention, but anyone who's watched this team and why this team is a different team than they were, has potential to make a long run, is because of the play of Trevor Ariza, because they have a defender who can guard the elite wings, and then they have a guy that hit 183s and is an all-around player. Just talk about what we saw out of Trevor tonight, and before we conclude.
Yeah, it's well, first I want to say that Bradley Beal. I wasn't surprised he hit that corner 3. That's his bread and butter. However, he hasn't been hitting the corner 3 well in these playoffs. What he has been doing well is hitting shots above the break. He's shooting 53% on threes above the break. Anytime he's up there, I mean, it's going in half the time. It's amazing. And Trevor Ariza, I mean, he's been, glue guy. I don't know what Trevor is. He's like a cement that keeps his team together. Phenomenal on D. He like you said, I mean, he hit 183s, I guess is what it was. He's one of 4 Wizards players to shoot over, or to make over 100 threes. Wall, Beal, Marcel Webster, Ariza. So I mean, he's a shooter. He's that 3 and D type of guy. The Wizards use him the right way, absolutely. And he's patient. During regular season, he wouldn't really take bad shots. I don't think he's taking a lot of bad shots in these playoffs either. Patient, smart. Even Aldridge, David Aldridge, is sort of laughing that, whichever team signs him, Trevor Ariza is going to get paid. It could be the Wizards, it could be someone else, but he might become one of the hottest free agents this coming summer. I mean, he's been phenomenal. Yeah,
I mean, I think he deserves to get paid, and we're gonna have a whole month of June to talk about the Trevor Ariza free agency. Yeah. I mean, even though I know it's more and more, I think it's more and more fans realize. I mean, I wouldn't say fans realize, but just people in general be like, wow, like he's just gonna be gone off his team next year, and it's just like coming to that realization is a tough one to be like. And and he actually said it today. There was an amazing feature today in the Washington Post. I haven't got a chance. Michael Lee. Big spread in the sports section as well, which was pretty neat, and kind of had some revealing things of Trevor Ariza. And I knew all the stuff about his brother dying out the window when they were little kids, and him naming his son after that. Him still, he has a tattoo of him, and that was it really hit him hard. And he's always talked about that. He kind of revealed a lot of other things about how he felt when he was traded here. Kind of basically said he was frustrated, admitted he was kind of pouting, and I was like, glad, because it kind of looked like it too. But I was also telling Rashad, it's a little different with John Wall. Not you got A.J. Price and Jordan Crawford trying to get you the ball instead of John Wall. A little different. Yeah. But then also just how when he was a rookie, Larry Brown, Stan Van Gundy, no one really kind of believed in him. Phil Jackson was the first one. He had a hot playoffs, goes to Houston, doesn't shoot as well. kind of maybe misused and over relied on. Where maybe he's better as a glue guy, third, fourth fiddle guy than your prime scorer. And I think that is.
Yeah, and that's what he's been. I mean, we took a look at some of these numbers. I think he is sort of that extra piece that's great to have. And I mean, he's having the best year of his career. Yeah, but he hasn't been to this point, and I don't know if that's going to change really going forward. I think he's in the perfect role. He feels comfortable. He knows that Wall will get him the ball. He has a sort of great rapport with his teammates, and I mean, he's a money shooter now. Whatever hitches he had in his shot before, whatever inconsistencies, messed up release, whatever, he's figured out because. I mean, I don't know what he shot actually over the course of the season, but he's been absolutely great from the three-point line. The game where he really blew up and everyone's like, okay, I don't know what this Trevor Reeves experience is, but it's great. Let's keep it rolling. Was that Houston Rockets game? I'm not sure if you remember that one.
Oh, I remember it well.
That game where it seemed like Reeves hit like 33s to bring him back.
Yeah, 10-3.
Madness.
James Harden flopped. Dick Pavetta screwed us. Oh yeah, I remember it well. It was actually a snow day here the next day. But I think the other quote.
That was like Ariza sort of
on the national spotlight a little bit, or your NBA Twitter type of people. But I think is that also the quote I saw is that I thought was kind of revealing is him basically being like, yeah, I guess they didn't want me here when they signed Martell to the deal. And they drafted Otto Porter, and Ariza was kind of like, they didn't want me. And I know everyone's like contract year. He's just playing this way because it's a contract year. I mean, I guess I don't know. I think that what he's done well is like stop dribbling and stop trying to make these plays. I think that what he falls into try to do too much. He's not a guy that you're just going to dump the ball in the wing and expect him to slash and get to the hoop on a consistent basis. He's going to trail. He's going to hit the threes. Now he can slash once in a while. But I think what we've seen is him being able to pick his spots and then still be able to play like elite defensive defense. And I think that's what separates him because, and I keep stressing on it, people, is that, this is a defensive game. This isn't just about offense and stats. And he's basically guarding the best. He's going to guard LeBron if they face the Heat. I mean, he's going to guard Durant. I know I'm looking ahead because I already tweeted out there's 11 more victories to the championship parade. And I'll keep doing that as these wins pile up. But even you got to have a player like that, especially when he's able to take some of that pressure off of Beal, off a Wall, and be able to, kind of step that up. I want to end, John. Two more points I want to say. So the Wizards had lost 12 games in a row in Indianapolis, and the Pacers broke that streak tonight. You mentioned it earlier, their first second-round victory since 1982. I believe the 76ers they lost that series to, off a hand. And also, Cinco de Mayo 2006, I just tweeted this out a little bit ago. I was at the game, Damon F. Jones game. Gilbert Arenas misses the free throws. LeBron James' first playoff victory in Verizon Center. Traumatized me for years and years and years. It was also Cinco de Mayo. So every Cinco de Mayo, I think about that stupid freaking game. For some reason, because I'm a downtrodden DC sports fan in general. I just cannot get that. Especially when the Wizards would make the playoffs. It's Cinco de Mayo, let's go drink. It's like, yep, remember what was that? Cinco de Mayo in the phone booth, watching 15, 20,000 people pile out and, zombies as I was yelling and screaming and going to get whiskey at Clyde's immediately. But now we have a new Cinco de Mayo memory. You win a game against the number one seed on the road. Bradley Beal coming of age on the national TV spotlight. Barkley's already writing this series off, which I don't believe at all. I guess before I leave, how do you see Game 2 playing out? The Game 2 will be Wednesday night at 7 on TNT before the Wizards play on Friday night at home on ESPN, I believe, and Sunday night at 8 o'clock on TNT, I believe. What do you see? How do you see Game 2 playing out before we jam out of here?
Well, they have won 9 of the last 10 since the regular season, the Wizards. They're 4-0 on the road. They know they could beat Indy now. Honestly, it's hard to be against the Wizards winning Game 2. I don't, Barkley was pretty much like this series is over. Like, bust out the broom, pull out the fishing rods. It's time to go fishing. I don't know if it'll be a clean win. I don't think they're going to sweep. It might not even be 5 games, but I don't see any way that the Wizards are going to lose the series. I think not to look completely past the Pacers. It's going to be Wizards and probably Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, which no one would have predicted a few months ago. I'll say that I'll say the Wizards win a close one.
The Wizards will take those again.
Yeah, they'll win a close one.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that they're. I know this is weird to say with how well they're playing, but I think they're due a stinker at some point. The thing is, unfortunately, the stinker probably will be at home. They have not been a good home team. Even in the home game they lost. I mean, if Nay's not, Wall makes those free throws and Nay doesn't get thrown out, they maybe still win that game. And then they blow them out, and they win all the 3 games against them, the Bulls. There wasn't really a stinker. I don't know when the threes don't drop, they get in foul trouble, they make some bad decisions. I think they're due for one of those games. I just don't know if it's game 2, and I don't think so. I think their confidence is sky high, and I think Indiana is definitely David West and Paul George. I think they're going to play. Paul George I think will play better, and Stevenson will play better. George Hill is kind of non-existent. But yeah, I think once again it will be kind of maybe something similar to this, where the Wizards get up to a lead and try to hold on at the end.
Yeah, the interesting thing, and probably the very positive thing for the Wizards, here's some positive pixels or audio bites. We haven't seen really a complete game from Marcin Gortat. He's had his moments, he's had his good halves. I don't think he's played all that great in the playoffs. So we're still, I think I'm still waiting to see a complete game from the Polish Hammer, the Polish Machine. And John Wall, obviously a phenomenal assist-to-turnover ratio. He's been up there in plus-minus. He's contributed, been the leader. I don't know if he's scored more than 18 points. I should have these numbers on me, but I don't. I think people are also still waiting to see him sort of blow up and drop 30 on the team. So the Pacers obviously aren't playing well as a somewhat broken team. But the Wizards still have guys who haven't really stepped up and really had their breakout playoff game yet. So Nene's had his, Ariza's had his, Beal's had a couple. I think we're still sort of waiting on John Wall. Maybe Martell Webster, drops the emo, goes post-punk. The Wizards got a lot of weapons. They're playing good ball. So if it's close, I still like the Wizards in the clutch, which is it seems crazy to say because.
Do you see? So, did you see maybe an Uncle Al Harrington game? Something we saw tonight at Drew Gooden. There's just this guy to step off the bench. We still haven't really seen. I think Martell played pretty well in the first half in Game 4 against the Bulls, but there hasn't been Martell comes in and gets a bunch of buckets, or he kind of struggles. I keep throwing Kevin Serafin's life name out there, but nobody's biting, John. No one's biting any KS life.
I don't want to see there. It's sort of funny because earlier I remember I think it was Nene on the sideline. Sort of checked underneath his warm up. I think to see if even Serafin bothered to put a jersey on because he knows he's not getting it. People also rooting for Otto Porter. I don't see him coming in. That's been good. I think and Trevor Ariza we trust. Honestly, he plays like a 2K player, right? NBA 2K, it's like a PS3 guy. He either shoots the 3 or he gets a layup and then just plays defense. He doesn't do anything else. It's been great. So he'll probably get a ratings boost in addition to his big contract. So the Wizards are just a better team. They're confident. Pacers aren't. What's that?
That's what you got. So we've seen the Andre Miller game. We saw the Drew Gooden game tonight. We're still waiting for a Martell Webster game. We've seen a Trevor Booker game. Trevor Booker, against the Bulls had a game.
Drew Gooden game, yeah.
So this is kind of the Drew Gooden game. So maybe there is some random Uncle Al hitting 3 threes game out there for us. I think that Webster's still due. So that's probably it. But as long as, and I think going back to the point, I want to finish on the point about Wall you're making is that I don't think we saw. I think he had the jumper going tonight too. His first couple jumpers I thought was dang, this guy's gonna make your shot. Didn't really hit. He had a couple jumpers in that Chicago game. I think game one he shot poorly, but game 2 I thought he had a really good floor game. and you kind of saw some outbursts, but there hasn't been a complete game yet, really, from John Wall, especially in Game 3. He kind of struggled down the stretch a little bit. Yeah, John Wall. We haven't really seen a complete dominant John Wall game. And the thing is, but I think that's maybe a positive, though, right? Like the fact that you ever need John Wall to dominate, and this team is now 5-1 in the playoffs with 4 road victories.
For sure.
And that they're able to
interesting things is that you sort of saw this early in the season too. John Wall would have an explosive first quarter. He'd have 16 points, sometimes 18 points in the first quarter. And you're like, whoa, Wall's about to have a huge game. Maybe he finished with 18 points and a half, and then he'd end up with 25 points. But then again, 8 assists, 9 assists, just 1 or 2, 3 turnovers. Not a great field goal percentage, but I think that's sort of the John Wall we have right now. And maybe in the off season, he keeps working on that mid-range game. He's shooting 23%. Compare that to Tony Parker, who's shooting 47%. I mean, you see he has a long way to go, but he's figuring it out. And I think he's figuring out how he can score, how he can set up his teammates, which he's always been good at. So we'll wait on. I think we'll have a big game at some point in the series. I mean, George Hill's checking him, and if they put Paul George on him, then the Pacers have bigger issues to worry about. So.
I heard that kind of messes up their wing defense too when that happens. All right, dude. Well. Thanks for taking some time with me, and I appreciate all the million viewers that are watching right now across the country and the world. And I know how much they love the Panda hat, but Wizards win 102-96. Game 2 will be Wednesday night, and maybe next time I'll have some beers or something better, some message. John, any parting thoughts?
Who do you like? Heat or Nets?
Oh, who do I want? I think it's hard to pick against the Heat right now. I think the Heat probably win in 6 games, maybe 5.
Yeah.
Even though it's kind of weird, the Nets have beat them 4 times this year, but all the games have been like 1-possession games at the end, and I don't know if that really matters in playoffs. But I still think it's gonna be Heat Thunder. It was my picks, and I think the Thunder was gonna win. Now, granted, that's been that kind of stumbled with the Thunder being on the ropes the way they were, but yeah, I still think Thunder Heat are my 2 choices.
Yeah, tonight's not their night, but that's why they play a whole series, right? Not college basketball, and that's a good thing. NBA basketball, way better. I think that's my parting thought.
All right, sweet. Well, thanks once again for joining us, and we'll hope to do this again. And peace out. Hold on, let's get some music. There it is. Wizards win. Throw your chicken around.